Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. This is Sinan, and I would like to share you our recent work about the coevolution of production code and test code. This work aims at facilitating test code updates through the coevolution of production test. Modern software production keeps evolving, as well as their test code. Ideally, we may expect the test code keep pace with the production code, as shown in the figure. In such case, the test code can always validate the newest change in the production code, thus stay effective. However, in the reality, due to many reasons, the test code often mismatches the production code's functionality. For example, it may precede the production changes due to a pending bug fix, or it may be postponed merely because the developer forgot about to update it. Existing work points out several reasons of lacking such coevolution, such as the test maintenance is actually an expensive operation. It requires additional QA resources. And second, the developer may be unaware of the existence of a particular test, and this test is easy to become outdated. Or the developer just simply had no time to run the test. Thus, the failing test case cannot be discovered. Here lists some related work about production test coevolution. For example, a work in 2008 tries to visualize the production test coevolution. Another work published in 2014 tries to mine coevolution patterns in the code repositories. Other words like they link the coevolutions with semantic activities, such as bug fix or feature addition removal in the production. However, we found that there are few studies answering the following questions. That is, when should the test code co-evolve with the production code? In other words, when should the developer make the production test co-evolution decision? We introduced a concept of outdated test. We refer to the time axis shown before. In the figure, we see that the test code V2 is updated after the production code V2. So during this time interval, the test code is outdated. We see a real example of outdated test, which comes from the Apache Commons Pool library. In the production code change, the behavior of set factory is changed. So resetting this factory member will result in an illegal state exception. However, there is a test case which sets the factory twice. So this test case will fail due to the production's new behavior. However, this test case is deleted 3 days after the production has changed. So during these 3 days, 17 commits are pushed, and these new commits will constantly trigger test failures, which waste lots of QA resources. Also, these failures will confuse the developers. Thus, our research goal is to identify the outdated tests. Also note that if we want to identify such outdated tests, our new approach should be lightweighted, as we know that running tests is expensive. Here I constrain our research scope. First, we focus on unit tests, and we associate test and production in class level using the Java class naming convention. For example, if there is a production class named full, there will be a test class named full test. Unlike previous study which focused on release level changes, we focus on commit level file changes. And last, we assume all test changes are committed with or after the production change, but not before it. Firstly, to understand the characteristics of production test coevolution, we conduct a large-scale empirical study. Our empirical study tries to answer the following research questions. First, Is production test coevolution a prevalent phenomenon? Second, what types of production test coevolution are frequently occurred? And third, when should the test code co-evolve with the production code? In other words, we want to know the characteristic of production test coevolution, particularly about the production code patches. We collect more than 900 Apache Java projects to conduct our empirical study. The figure shows that Kafka and Dubo are the most popular among all projects. Thus, we illustrate our findings with these two projects. We first investigate the time intervals between production changes and test changes. In Dubo, about 40% of the coevolution happen in the same commits, is shown in the black bar. That is said, 40% of the coevolution, the production patch and the test patch occur in the same commits, while in Kafka, this percentage become over 50%. We also found that most tests do not change within 48 hours after the production changed. We also note that a few of test updates are postponed. However, they only occupy a small proportion. If we look forward beyond 48 hours, we may find that coevolutions become fewer. In other words, most coevolution happen in the same commits. This also fits our intuition, and as the time goes by, the number of coevolution become fewer. We also observe similar distribution in other projects, so we draw the first finding. That is, not all production changes result in the test coevolution, and also most coevolution happens in the same commit. Second, we count the change types of production test coevolution in the dataset. Again, take Dubo and Kafka as example. If we look at the file level changes, found that EE is the most frequent change type. EE means in this coevolution instance, both production class and the test class are being edited rather than create or delete. This also fits our intuition, as in most time, developers are editing existing files rather than create or deleting files. The same distribution is also presented in other projects. So we have finding 2, that is, various change type combination may occur, but the most frequent one is editing production and editing test class simultaneously. The third empirical study tries to gain deeper understanding to the production test coevolution. We conduct a manual inspect process. First, we randomly select 2 subsets of samples. One is positive samples in which the coevolution is happened within 48 hours, and also we select negative samples, so in which the tests do not update it within 480 hours after production changed. Then we manually inspect the production patches to both the positive sample and the negative sample. The detailed data can be found in our paper, and here I just tell you the final conclusion. That is, in positive sample, which the coevolution happens, the production patches modify more types of language constructs and more lines of code. In other words, in a coevolution scenario, the production patches tends to be more complicated. Based on our empirical findings, we designed an effective detecting approach. We call it Theta. Through the empirical study, we know that detecting approach should take many factors into account. For example, The production patches show significant differences between positive and negative sample, and also various factors, especially we refers to the syntax level features. Various factors can affect whether the test should co-evolve. So we design a machine learning based approach called Theta for just-in-time test update prediction. Theta consists of three components highlighted in italic font. The first is the matcher, which matches the production code and its corresponding test code. And it also divides these production test pairs into either positive or negative sample, just like we have done in the third empirical study. Specifically, the matcher accepts the Git commit history of the projects and output two types of samples, the negative sample and also the positive sample. As for the feature extractor, it turns the production patch into structural vector representation. For example, in the left side we show production patch. In this patch, one line of master parameter is being edited. Thus, in the feature vector, we record that add param is 1. That means one parameter line is added and also one parameter line is deleted. So one parameter line is edited. But as for the there's only one add new return line. So we record add return 1. But since there are no deleted return statement lines, so their return is 0. In total, we select 9 types of language constructs, and there are totally 18 features. The last component is the classifier. By design, these components can be replaced by any machine learning algorithms. And in our paper, we compare 4 types of the classifier and finally chose the random forest. To evaluate theta, we collect our data sets. It consists of 10 popular Apache projects and 10 extra projects. All these projects are written in Java language. Our evaluation answers the following research question. For example, the comparison of classifier, as we have said, we chose the random forest, and theta's effectiveness. Also, we analyze the features contribution among the 18 features. And also we compare theta against some baseline methods. Due to time limit, here I only introduced the last one. You may refer to other research questions to our original paper. We select 3 baseline rules for deciding test updates. For example, rule 1 says add or delete a test file when a production is added or deleted. Rule is editing the test when production methods are edited. And rule 3 is editing tests when production fields are edited. These rules are proposed by existing study. It shows that theta performs well compared to other baselines. For example, R1 achieves high precision but low recall score, while combining these 3 rules achieves the high recall but low precision. Among them, theta can obtain both high precision and also high recall scores. Also, theta also obtains the highest F score compared to other baselines. So we say that theta outperforms the other 3 baseline methods. In summary, there are 3 main points of this study. First, production test co-evolution is important, but it gains few attention to the developer and also researchers. Second, various factors can affect the production test co-evolution decision. And third, we found that syntax level features for predicting production test co-evolution is promising. So that's all of my presentation. Thanks all for all your listening.